I mean, you too, Amanda, but like.
Hi, Laura. Hi, welcome home.
I was home for the weekend. I'm gonna go see Six on Broadway. It's amazing.
Don't just hear about Michael. We liked it like 10 times more than he did, but it was so good.
I'm so excited for it.
My favorite was it's the whole vine one.
Sit here all alone. Oh, I thought it was that one.
There was a second one,
Me some pheasant, you put on the bone.
but the middle one, the one that everybody likes.
Did you take
We did.
Oh yeah. It's fun. At college.
That should be like on your t-shirt. It's fun at
It's
college.
fun at college.
It's very, very weird. It's very, very different than like here. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I miss the Jewish community.
Oh, that's good. That's an important thing to learn, though.
I'm part of like Christian organizations. And I'm just like there.
Yeah.
And they invite me. Like I go to like some events and stuff that are not like at all just because they're my friends. They want me to. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that
Really
makes
nice.
sense.
Listen, that's what the experience is for. It's to give you a sense of where you're coming from and where you're going.
Yeah.
Then you decide. Oh, that's so cool. Well, unless you want to lead services right now. No, I was just gonna say, you you definitely. We have Evergreen College is tonight, so like I don't know if you know anybody that goes there, but we have like a group from.
No, it's nice Greenville.
Sorry.
Greenville.
Greenville. Sorry. There's Greenville and Evergreen.
Evergreen is not here. Evergreen is not in Missouri.
Is that Washington?
It might be. I don't know. I do not know.
Last chance. No? Okay. Als ich will singen.
Lichadoidi. Songs.
For the visually impaired.
I was
Really
not able
close.
to do.
Really close.
Okay.
What's this for? Do we need this up here?
No.
This is. Gewalt.
Hello, Weglars boys. Even Nate the Great is here? What? Awesome.
What's up, guys?
Are you guys excited for the Purim spiel? You have like the coolest roles. It's pretty awesome.
What do they do? What do you do? Are
Wait,
you in charge of a booth?
No, are you Haman's bad guys? Oh, the assassins. They're the assassins, obviously.
It's my favorite role in the Passover story. The assassination.
It's the Purim story.
That's right.
Second of all,
the
we're
Purim story.
trying to, make it a little more fun for the dudes.
You know what? Got to do what you got to do for the kids. That is mine, right? We,
Yes.
lit up?
All right, my friends, come on in. Everyone find a seat. Sydney, your boys have chosen the seats of honor.
Stage diving.
No, it'll be great. It'll be fabulous. All right, everyone, come on in, find a seat. Hello, Fleischers. Hello, Bench.
Maybe it's like the better the food is.
It's true. It's because I told everyone there would be cookies. All right, schmoozers who are still eating out there, if you can hear my voice, it's time. It's time.
All right, right in front. Right in front. Right in front.
Oh, sorry.
The whole thing. The whole.
I got distracted.
Yeah. All
Thank
right,
you,
very good.
Benj.
Ozzy?
All right, come on in, everyone. We're going to start singing as you come in. So this first song, for all of you well-behaved members of the congregation who came here on time, it's on page 343. The words are Ozi v'zimrat Yah. It comes from this week's Torah portion, which makes it extra special awesome. Ozi v'zimrat Yah says, God is my strength and might. God will be my salvation. Ozi v'zimrat Yah v'yehi li Yeshua. 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 All right, my friends. Now, I know everyone is still wandering in, but since some of you, this may have been your first time to Temple Israel, I want to make sure you know that we want you to sing.
Yeah, I got very quiet.
Especially, I know, it was like so quiet, which is very nice and respectful.
Fox Theater is great. But
You
this is
don't
not
have
it.
to be that nice and respectful. We would love for you to actually sing along, especially because of the many different things we're honoring tonight, and we'll tell you about some of them later. One of the things that makes this week special is that this week in our Torah portion, it's called Shabbat Shira. It means it's the Sabbath of song. We are actually tomorrow going to hear our bar mitzvah, and he is going to actually chant for us the song that Miriam, Moses, and Aaron and the Israelites sang at the shores of the sea. But tonight, it's all on you. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to do something that is not a prayer, so to speak. It's not even in Hebrew. It's not even from the prayer book, but I bet a lot of you know it because it's from a musical. So, if you know this one, I hope you'll sing along with us. Yeah, it's fine. May the Lord protect and defend you. May God always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's way.
May God bless you and grant you long
May the
life.
Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you.
May God keep you and shield you from
May
strife.
God in God's wisdom always care for you.
May the Lord protect and defend.
May the Lord protect and defend you.
Shield you from
May God always shield you from shame.
Favor us, O Lord.
Favor us, O
With
Lord,
happiness and
with
peace.
happiness.
Oh,
Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer. Amen. Goldberg. I heard you singing all the way from Florida, but it's just a little bit of Fiddler on the Roof to start us tonight. So, as I said, we have a lot of different things that we're celebrating this Shabbat. One of them is that tomorrow Andrew Oldham is becoming a bar mitzvah. So, we are going to call Andrew and his family on up. So, Andrew and Norman and Kenley and Tony and Chris, come on up, and they are going to help us light our Shabbat candles and say Kiddush, and that can be found in your prayer book on page 2. Eloheinu melech
haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat.
Beautiful. All right, someone want to grab the glass? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. All right, and that looks like a very special looking challah. I can tell from here that it's special.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen. All right, you can take a bite of it, and then you guys are good. All right, mazel tov in advance. We can't wait. Sure. So on Shabbat Shira, this the Sabbath that Shira means song, so we always try to do something a little bit different musically, and we'll have a few different musical things that we do this evening. But knowing that we have a lot of guests here tonight, we thought that the Lachadodi that we would do would be one where even if you don't know the words, you may very well know the tune. So Lachadodi is on page 20, and this is a prayer that was written to be able to welcome in the Shabbat spirit. And it's this idea of saying that Shabbat is such a sacred time that it's as if every week we are welcoming a bride into our midst. But this one, again, even if you don't know the words, you may very well know the tune. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Shabbat nekabala, shamor v'zachor b'diborecha, hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. So we call each other to worship, and I would invite you, if you will, to please rise, and we'll join together now with the words of the Baruch Hu on page 28. Yai la 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 la. read together in the English on the bottom of 31. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and then we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On the top of 33.
As you taught Torah to those whose name I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
And on 34, we join in the watchword of our people, the words of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'yisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kadoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. On 39, stand on the parted shores of history. We still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. So those words of Mi Chamocha is actually exactly what we're going to hear from Andrew tomorrow when he chants Torah, a little bit of a different tune, but the same melody. But even though every week we read those words or we sing those words of Mi Chamocha that are the song that the Israelites sang when they crossed from slavery to freedom, we are reminded that just because someone has said you are no longer slaves does not mean that anyone knows how to deal with freedom. And so every week we remind ourselves of just how great the challenge always remains. And so we follow our prayer thanking God for having given us freedom by asking God to still protect us and shelter us wherever we go. And so we say those words on page 42 with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. So we come now to the central part of our worship service on page 46, known as Tefillah. But I often remind people when we come to this point in services that the rabbis and the ancestors who came before us, they knew that one day there would be people sitting in a room just like this one, if not this very room, who would come to this space and who wouldn't know the prayers, who wouldn't know the right words to say, or for whom these prayers wouldn't have meaning. And so when they wrote this prayer, they expected that there would be times when maybe there would be people in this space who would just want to offer a prayer of their hearts, who just want to say something silently or just hum along. So as we join in this prayer together, if the words speak to you, if they seem familiar, then join along. But if not, we still invite you to still please rise and either pray silently or hum along or in some way offer the prayers of your hearts. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, V'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'imaot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Ba'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia. Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'ofech olim, U'matzir asurim. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני Please be seated. On page 55, we read responsively, Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred.
Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears.
Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a time of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. So at this point in our service now, we are going to skip forward quite a bit, all the way to page 253. And this is a prayer that actually traditionally is only said on Saturday mornings when the Torah is out, but in our congregation it is our minhag, it is our custom to say it every Friday evening when we come together, because this is a prayer for healing. And we know that for so many of us, this is actually why we come to services, this is why we listen in, because there are members of our family or circles of friends who are in need of healing, and they want to know that their names are being shared here. So if there's someone that you're thinking of at this time and you'd like to share their name aloud at this time, someone who's in need of healing, I would invite you to do so. Thinking too of Ella and Maya watching from home, of Michelle Miller, of Rochelle Silvery. We're thinking too of Arlene Alper, of Lisi Weinstein. We're thinking of Itzhak Ben Meir and all those names that we say in our hearts. For them and for us, we offer a healing prayer with the words of Misha Berach. One of those nights. Yes. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekol Bracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, oh bless the ones before. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekol Bracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We turn to offer prayers of peace as we sing to God, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimroma, oh ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakom Yisrael ve'imeru amen. have noticed from when you walked in this evening, one of the many things that we are celebrating this Shabbat is Tu B'Shvat. Now, Tu B'Shvat actually doesn't officially start until Sunday night, but we're going to start celebrating it here because it's a good one. Tu B'Shvat is the New Year for the trees. Now, I know the idea of the New Year for the trees doesn't sound like it would be that exciting, and in fact, the original idea of the New Year for the trees was not that exciting. It was really just there as a way for people to be able to count exactly how old their trees were and not have to know the trees' exact birth dates, which can get very confusing. But what happened was that over time, this holiday of Tu B'Shvat, it became more and more elaborate, and all kinds of different traditions were associated with it. One of them, which you saw a little bit of outside, is that on this holiday, we try and enjoy the 7 species of Israel. Some of them are tastier than others. Barley, plain, not all that tasty, but the rest of them are relatively good. This is also a holiday that the Kabbalists, Jewish mystics, they created traditions around it, like having a Tu B'Shvat Seder, where you drink white wine and red wine together, and then you mix them. Super fun. We don't do it here because red wine is bad for the carpet, but it is definitely one that you should try at home. And the other thing is that it's also a holiday that we talk a lot about environmentalism. And so for those of you who were in the class last week about a Jewish case for vegetarianism, you already heard this idea that Judaism has a lot to say, not just about that we should be eating plants and plant life in a serious way, but that we should respect the earth in many, many different ways. But there is one more Tu B'Shvat tradition that is my personal favorite, which is that on this holiday, we tell stories about a man who is known as Honi. Now, Honi was a real man, as far as we know. We read about him in the Talmud. He lived around like the 1st century BCE, so we refer to him as one of the Tanaim. So all of the different really big Macha rabbis who we read about in the Talmud, so people like Akiva and Shimon Bar Yochai, like they were all Honi's peers. But what made Honi different than the rest of them is while they were all rabbis and they're very serious and we hear about all of their great rulings, what Honi is essentially is a miracle worker. Now, I'm not going to go into this tonight, but since I know that we have some folks here who come from a Christian tradition, what I do want to say is one of the coolest things about Honi is that there are a lot of people who believe that Honi and Jesus are linked. Maybe they're even the same person, or at least they come from the same tradition. So when you go home tonight, not now, don't turn on your cell phones now, but when you go home tonight, you should look up Honi and Jesus because there is all sorts of cool stuff there, but not for Shabbat. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about just what made Honi so magical and so miraculous. There are really only 2 big stories about Honi that we read in the Talmud. The first one, even if you've never heard it before, it's going to sound familiar. The story goes like this. Honi is walking along one day, and he is walking in this area outside, and there's a couple trees there. It's a little bit sparse, though, and he sees someone who is planting a seed in the ground, and he says, "What are you planting?" And the guy says, "Oh, I'm planting a carob seed." And Honi laughs, and he's like, "A carob seed? Really? Don't you know that carob trees take 70 years to actually grow? You're never going to actually benefit from this tree." And the man says, "Well, I know I won't, but the few trees you see here now were planted for me by my grandparents. And so if I plant this tree, then my grandchildren will also be able to benefit for it." Now, Honi thinks that sounds a little bit ridiculous. This person's wasting their time, so he walks on, and then he gets a little bit sleepy, and so he goes and he takes a nap in sort of out in the field there. And he's very, very tired, and so he takes a very, very, very long nap. And when he wakes up, he realizes that there's all this shade over his head that wasn't there before. And he thinks, this is weird. It's like he fell asleep in a forest, and he doesn't remember that at all. And he sees someone walking up, and he said, "Who planted these trees? Where did they come from?" And the person says, "Oh, well, my grandfather planted them." And Honi has this realization, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, something crazy has happened." And so he says, "Do you know someone named Honi?" And the man says, "Well, no, but I think my grandparents knew someone named Honi." And Honi says, "Oh my gosh, is Honi still around?" And the man says, "Well, no, but Honi's grandchildren are. Would you like to meet them?" Now, the story ends there, but of course the meaning is pretty plain. It's very much like a story that you've probably heard of, Rip Van Winkle. In fact, there's a lot of stories just like that in almost every tradition out there. But the idea is that if you could imagine what life would be like not the generation after we're gone, but in the next. Just think of how whatever seeds we are planting, whether they're the true seeds that we plant in the earth or the seeds that we plant in our children and grandchildren, just how amazing it is if we could see how they grow and the way that our legacy will continue to live on after we are long gone. That's story number one. Story number two is really my favorite. Now, Honi has a funny name. We call him Honi Hama'agal, which means Honi the circle maker. We don't know exactly what that means. Some people say that maybe he was like a roofer and they used to, do something with circles on roofs. But what we know is that at least in this story, he is known for physically making circles. What happens is that this is also a little bit of an environmental story. We know that right now in Israel that it is almost spring. It's so much nicer right there than it is here. But that they have been in the rainy season. And it's very important in Israel that they're getting rain in the winter because that's pretty much the only time where they get rain. So this time, though, in Israel's history, there was no rain. And the people of Israel really started to panic. And they said, you know who can do something about this? Honi Hama'agal. Honi, the circle maker, can do something because he seems to be able to make miracles happen. So the people go to Honi and they say, Honi, can you help us with this drought? And Honi says, of course I can. And he goes, I'm so used now to being behind here, but he goes down and he draws a circle around himself. I hope you all can still see me at home. So he goes and he draws this circle around himself and he says, all right, God, I'm not coming out of this circle until you make it rain. And the people, they sort of chuckle because that's a little bit of a ridiculous thing to say. And of course, nothing happens. And so Honi says, hey, God, I said I'm not coming out of the circle until you make it rain. These people, they need their plants to grow, and they're very thirsty, and they also are starting to smell kind of bad because they haven't bathed in a very long time. We need some rain. And the people start saying, what is happening here? How can Honi talk to God that way? That's so disrespectful. And they start to get very, very worried until drip, drip, drip. It slowly starts to rain. But that's not enough for Honi. So Honi says, God, that's very nice, but we need some serious rain. Can't you do a little bit better than that? And all of a sudden, boom, crash, the lightning comes and the thunder, and that was perfect timing. Nicely done, Penelope. And suddenly there is so much rain, it actually starts to be like there's a torrential downfall. And Honi's like, all right, God, now you're showing off a little bit less, please. And there's a little bit less water. Now, the people actually, after this story, they say to Honi, no one should actually talk to God that way. And they want to put him into cherem. They want to, I just forgot the English word for cherem. Yes, exile. They basically want to exile him so that he's no longer a part of the Jewish community. But the other rabbis at the time, they say, no, Honi has shown us something. Honi has shown us that if you really want to talk to God, you have to talk to God just like you talk to everyone else. You have to talk to them face to face. You have to be able to truly have a personal encounter with God. So why is it that these are the two stories that we hear about Honi? These are the only things we know about this man who made these miracles? Well, maybe it's because the first story teaches us that the vast majority of what we want and what we need in this world are things that we have to take responsibility for ourselves. If we want for this world and this community to keep on being there for our children and grandchildren, that we really have to be the ones to do the work and to make it happen and to plant those seeds, literally and figuratively, for the next generation. But every once in a while, it takes just a little bit more than us. It takes a little bit of divine intervention. And if we're going to need that, then we have got to learn how to be able to talk to God one-on-one in a personal way. And hope that somehow, with a combination of our hard work and being able to have faith in a God who knows us and talks to us, then maybe we too can make miracles happen. Shabbat shalom. So I'll ask you now, if you will, to please rise. And we are going to turn to the Aleinu, which can be found in your prayer books on page 282. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We know that so many of us are here tonight honoring a time of learning or a time of joy, but we also know that there are those in our midst who are here or who are watching at home because this is a time of loss and sadness. And so we recall with love the names of those taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names. Jared Kalina, Jerry Meadow, Irene Owens, and Jerry Steele. We now recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial. Dorothy Abraham, Ann Glazer Abramson, Leonard Adrian, Lillian Allen, Johanna Alsberg, Dora Bach, Ferdinand Bach, Hattie Barkin, Elizabeth Brody, Julius Benoit Cerf, Charles George Cohen, Myrna Cohen, Lynn Cole, Molly Kotler, Beatrice Cravance, Melvin DeGroot, Meyer Deutsch, Henry Epstein, S. Lester Feldman, Marilyn Filderman, August Frank, Susan Fry, Allison Gall, Nathan Garber, Manuel Goldberg, Virginia Goldman, Erna Katz, Hortense Goodman Cohn, Rachel Haddad, Raphael B. Jacobs, Lillian Jossam, Carl Katz, Leon Katzenstein, Mary Jane Kirstner, Paul Knopf, Joe Kottman, Herman Landau, Irene Appel Laderman, Irina Levitskaya, Marie Bear Littman, Florence Mainzer, Anna Manny, Dr. Marshall Manny, Charles Chick Meyerson, Stanley Michelson, Mark Molaski, Fanny Neiman, Dr. Harry Offenbach, Robert Oxenhandler, Lena Peltison, Mitchell Perlmetter, Ronald Stanford Prince, Ida Rosenberg, Beatrice Salinger, Joseph Edwin Samuels, Dr. Louis Schucott, Ralph John Scherberg, Isidore Siegfried, Carl Joseph Snyder, Dr. Silas Starr, Charles Steinberg, Alfred Freund-Steiner, Jane Wasserman, Ray Weil, Edith Wilson, Ashel Lewis, Lou Wolfman, Roberta Zaintz-Wolfman, Aubrey Yowitz, Rose Yussman, Molly Goldzar, Susie Zellick, and William Zeev. So with these names and the names we keep in our hearts, we join together for the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divarach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shemei Dekudusha Barechu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'emru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'emru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'emru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'immeru. Amen. Please be seated. So a few announcements before we turn to our closing song. First, as I said, there's a lot happening tonight. So besides Tu B'Shvat, besides Shabbat Shira, besides Andrew's Bar Mitzvah, which we're so excited about, we also have a lot of guests with us. So first, we want to welcome Kenneth Griffin and Otis Harden, who are here from Monroe Elementary School. Will you guys give us a wave? So many of you know of our amazing partnership with Monroe Elementary, but Monroe has new leadership, and they are awesome. And so what we're really hoping is that if you have been looking maybe for a volunteer opportunity, that you'll speak with one of them this evening. If you don't have time tonight, you can talk to either of us, or you can reach out to Linda or to Susan or to Betsy or to Carol or anyone else who is a Monroe volunteer. But they are doing some truly incredible work down there, and they could use our assistance. So we hope that you will introduce yourself and reach out to them. We also have a number of students and faculty from Greenville University. We're delighted that you are here. After the services, we would just ask that you stay in. You can go and use the restroom, but then come on back in here, and Rabbi Michael is going to do a tour and a learning session with you. And we also have some new members here tonight. It is a crazy night. So if you're one of the new members, we're also so glad you're here. We're glad everyone's here. But new members, you guys get a special treat for coming. So when you leave tonight, be sure you stop by Martina and ask for your special treat. Last but not least, Adele would be so mad if I did not give you very specific instructions for what you're supposed to do. So in where are we having our Oneg, there are all sorts of amazing Tu B'Shvat activities. One of them is that we are planting some things in Oreos. It's awesome. You're going to love it. I know. Don't really plant real things in Oreos, but symbolically, you are going to be able to plant various gummy worms and use chocolate sauce and have a special Tu B'Shvat experience. I apologize to everyone who wanted their children to go to sleep early. That's not happening. But also, our religious school students last Sunday, they planted parsley for you, and it is waiting by the front door. Everyone is welcome to take one on your way out. Parsley takes a really long time to grow, but it will be ready for you by Passover, which is so perfect, so you can have it at your Seder. So, one final song. Okay. All right, so we're going to sing Olam Chesed Yibaneh, which is all about just sort of making this world a bit of a better place. And can we make it just a little bit higher?
Let's go.
By the end of the service, I needed to go higher and higher. That's just how it works, I know.
It's good. And all the way up.
Perfect. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai. World from love, yadadai, 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 yadai. You will build this world. You will build this world from love, yadadai, 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 yadai. If we build this world, and if we build this world from love, yadadai, 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 yadai. God will build this world. God will build this world from love, yadadai. Shabbat Shalom. And thank you to Adele and our Worship Experience Committee for putting together all of our awesome activities.
Oh no.
Wait, say that
Go
again?
ahead.